the station that's on your side. This is News 12, first at 5.
An Alabama inmate back in custody while the corrections officer who set him free is dead. First at 5, that 911 call from inside their car as they were running from police.
But first, the president of Delaware State University expressing outrage tonight after a bus of his lacrosse players was stopped and searched in Georgia.
All this happening at the end of last month when the sheriff's deputies pulled the bus over as it was traveling back home from a game in Florida. As Wrdw reports, it started as an alleged traffic violation, ended up being a search for drugs.
The reason I started is for a left lane violation.
This is the moment Liberty County Sheriff's deputies pulled over a bus of women's lacrosse players last month. After talking to the driver, the sheriff's deputy hooks his head into the bus.
Ladies, how y'all doing?
When he returns to the car, he makes this remark to a fellow deputy.
There's a bunch of dang schoolgirls on the bus. There's probably some weed. Maybe.
The deputies then inform the driver they're going to search the luggage under the bus. One deputy brings out a drug-sniffing dog. They return to the bus to explain what's happening.
How do we go from being a liberal to being drug bags?
There are times where we end up finding some children that are missing from their family. We find large amounts of money that nobody knows anything about. Okay? Or large amounts of cocaine, marijuana, heroin, methamphetamines, anything like that, okay? If there is anything in y'all's luggage, we're probably going to find it. Okay? I'm not looking for a little bit of marijuana, but I'm pretty sure you guys as chaperones are probably going to be disappointed in you if we find any.
The deputies proceed to search the bags, going through the women's personal belongings. At one point, they pull out a wrapped gift.
What is that?
I have no clue. My aunt gave it to me.
Your aunt gave it to you? You don't know what it is?
No, I didn't open it. I was waiting until I go back to school. I'll open it now.
No, what did she tell you it was?
She didn't tell me anything.
Yeah, where did you get it from?
My aunt.
I mean, in Georgia? We're gonna open it.
Okay.
And we're gonna find out exactly what it is.
Okay.
But however, this is the type of stuff that we look for.
After around 20 minutes of searching, the deputies find no contraband.
All right, ladies, thank you. We're gonna get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your trip.
At a press conference yesterday, Sheriff William Bowman said multiple vehicles were stopped that morning and that his deputies followed the rules.
The deputy informed the passengers that the search would be completed. This is the same protocol that is expected to be used no matter the race, gender, age, or destination of the passenger.
He later said this.
No personal items on the bus or person were searched.
Wrdw, CBS News, New York.
Today, the sheriff spoke to clarify. He says he meant to say that none of the people on the bus were checked because the dog never went inside the bus. Meanwhile, the students say they're shocked and they believe the search was racially motivated.
It definitely hit hard on the bus ride back. All of us were just silent because we were trying to process everything that we just experienced.
The team and university are demanding a full investigation. They say they will not let the incident pass by. They are prepared, they say, to go where the evidence leads them.
Again, all that in Liberty County, Georgia, there on the coast, not too far from Savannah. Let's shift gears now into weather. We're going to get a live look.
System move in. We'll have much more on that in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Riley. The FDA says it will allow baby formula to be released from an Abbott nutrition facility on a case-by-case basis in an attempt to ease the strain of the formula shortage. In a statement, the FDA commissioner said, quoting here, "We recognize many consumers have been unable to access infant formula and critical medical food they are accustomed to using and are frustrated by their inability to do so." He goes on to say the agency is doing what it can to ease the burden. Back in February, the FDA warned people not to use certain powdered formulas from Abbott Nutrition because of worries over contamination. Since the voluntary recall, parents have reported having a hard time finding formula.
Body cam footage released showing the moment police in Evansville, Indiana, discovered the fugitives from Alabama in their wrecked car after a police chase. Corrections officer Vicky White and that escaped inmate Casey White ran from Alabama almost 2 weeks ago. And in the last half hour, we're hearing the 911 call Vicky White made the day they were caught.
John. Airbags are going on. Let's get out. Run.
back in police custody while Vicky White died in the hospital in Indiana. Police say they believe she took her own life. A showdown in the U.S. Senate over abortion rights and women's health. A bill to establish a federal law guaranteeing the right to an abortion has failed in the Senate.
It aimed to preserve nationwide protections provided under Roe v. Wade. It comes on the heels of the recently released draft opinion showing Supreme Court justices could overturn the landmark case.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wanted to get senators on record about their stand on abortion, saying lawmakers will have to answer to voters in the midterm elections.
It's National Police Week, and 563 new names are etched on a memorial wall in D.C. to remember officers who've lost their lives. The president of the Fraternal Order of Police says the memorial is an important place for families to be able to come to process emotions and also to interact with people who are feeling the same pain. One of those names, Captain Justin Bedwell from Georgia. The Decatur County lieutenant lost his life while assisting deputies trying to stop a car that was running from a traffic stop.
Police officers from across the country gathering in D.C. today to remember fallen police canines who gave their lives in the line of duty. They honored 75 fallen canines who died protecting their communities. Officers say at the ceremony there's a special bond between the handler and the canine that runs deep. Savannah police officer John Lindsay lost canine Hoss when their vehicle rolled while they were responding to a call.
My partner's name was Haas. He meant the world to me. I was able to actually get into the rear of my car and embrace him one last time before he let go. And I like to think he did that for a slight amount of closure.
Officer Lindsay and the other canine handlers at the ceremony have different stories to tell, but they all have the same message. Canines play an invaluable role in keeping us safe.
Man's best friend. The Georgia Department of Revenue starts issuing special one-time tax returns this week. It's an additional refund of income taxes from 2020 because of the state's revenue surplus. It's $250 a person, and heads of household could get up to $375. It all depends on your tax liability, and you have to file for 2021 before you can get this.
Georgia saw a record number of... It also had No Mow May, why a Georgia organization is trying to keep you from cutting the grass. That's just ahead. First at 5.
Some Georgia homeowners are pushing the tag No Mow May. Now, the idea is to allow yards to grow out and attract pollinators.
Yeah, that's the idea. Sawyer Bussey introduces us to some Atlanta beekeepers. They show us how to take part.
Jimmy Gatt's yard isn't perfectly manicured, and he's proud of that.
Planting things very deliberately that are actually going to produce nectar is going to be very good for our pollinators.
He knows what's growing here.
Tilia americana, it's Monarda didyma, Hamamelis virginiana, it's Aesculus parviflora.
Every plant has a purpose, every flower and tree a job.
This is crimson clover. It's actually going to improve your soil without adding any fertilizer. And the bees actually love it.
Jimmy is the president of the Metro Atlanta Beekeepers Association. He believes in creating and advocating for spaces that attract pollinators. He's doing that right here in his yard.
Grass is our #1 cultivated crop. And this is a plant that feeds no humans, no animals, and no bees. So for this reason, this is why a lot of people started the No Mow May campaign, because it actually allows some of those plants to grow, and hopefully some of those plants that are not grass will bloom and actually feed our pollinators.
There are some areas where the rules are stricter as far as what your yard is allowed to look like, and local beekeepers say not to worry, there are still ways that you can contribute to creating a beautiful space for local pollinators.
Figure out what they can actually do that will comply with your regulations. And if instead of mowing, if actually planting a shrub that will bloom and produce nectar, especially in summer, then that might actually be the better option for those homeowners.
There's a list of pollinator-friendly plants and trees on the Metro Atlanta Beekeeping website.
Summer is a time when the number of pollinators is the highest and the amount of nectar is the lowest.
Okay, so it's not so much about not cutting your grass, it's about replacing your grass with these other things that the bees like a lot more. So, either way.
I don't think homeowners associations across our area would be too happy about this. I know it's good for the bees because Even the dandelions and those types of weeds are really good for the pollinators. Not so good for the people who are pretty adamant about making sure your lawn is perfect.
Well, I think it's a good idea. It's less maintenance. If you can just kind of plant some stuff and let it go wild, you don't have to mow your grass twice a week, especially during the summertime. I'd say let it go wild.
Yeah, and
good for nature.
This time of year, there's some lawns that I've seen that are letting the little yellow flowers pop up. They're all over the place, and I'm thinking, I wonder if that's a pollinator.
That could be a good excuse.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what we're doing?
Is that what we're doing?
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, if the HOA's complaining, just say,
It's
hey,
for the bees.
helping out the bees.
No mow May.
That's
I
exactly
like the
right.
hashtag.
There you go.
I do too.
Hey, and you may not have to water your grass next.
Helping out healthcare heroes using robots. That is the goal of a River Region competition. We'll show you ahead on News 12, first at 5.
The live eye camera.
My career is focused on helping the injured because I can relate to that. I don't just sympathize. I know how all it takes is a single second to change your entire life. Being an attorney isn't just a job for me, it's who I am. My name is Fatima Zaidan, and I'm an attorney at the Icolts Law Firm. I get it. I've been there, and I'm dedicated to fighting for you.
When you're hurting an
Let's talk robots. The CSRA has a new robotics league, and Grovetown High School, they just became the first champs of the inaugural season. This league is called Fully Wired, founded in 2020 thanks to a $25,000 grant. The theme of this season's competition, helping our healthcare heroes. The teams were challenged to make robots that can deliver medication, linens, and meals to hospital rooms, and carting away things like trash and medical waste. So good job to those students. A program that would give South Carolina families public dollars to send their kids to private schools is getting closer to becoming a reality.
The state's House of Representatives passed the bill today after the Senate already approved it earlier this year. As our State House reporter Mary Green tells us, not everyone agrees on the measure.
There's so many different things that we can do right here in this body to improve public education. But this isn't helping public education.
Right now, I think the parents have asked for an option, and they deserve for us to let them see if it works.
The bill would provide for 5,000 students a year to receive $5,000 for an education scholarship account. To qualify, families would need to have a low enough income to be eligible for Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program, be active duty military, or have been enrolled in the state's 4K program the year before. They'd be able to use the money on private and public school tuition, fees, books, and transportation. This would be a 3-year pilot program with $25 million taken out of state reserves each year to pay for it.
There's no dollars from any public program going into this pilot program.
But opponents of the bill argue that money would still be better spent invested in public education in the first place.
Defunding them doesn't seem like the right approach. If we have somebody who's unhappy with the public bus system, we don't give them a voucher to take an Uber.
Democrat Russell Ott proposed a dozen amendments to the bill aimed at promoting transparency and accountability in the program.
The Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, clearly spell out that public dollars should not go pay for private institutions.
All those amendments were voted down and not included in the final version of the bill, which largely passed along party lines, with some Republicans breaking from the majority and joining Democrats in opposing it. The version of this bill the House just passed is different from what the Senate approved earlier this year. So senators can either agree to those changes and send them along to the governor, or they can opt for the two chambers to negotiate a compromise. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
Mary, thanks for that. And the clock is ticking on all this. South Carolina's regular legislative session ends tomorrow, but lawmakers could still be able to return to Columbia and work out a compromise on that bill.
Okay, runners, get ready. On Saturday, May 21st, the Friends of the Animal Shelter is hosting a furry 5K and 1-mile run. All the money raised will go to the Aiken County Animal Shelter. It's happening at Generations Park on Columbia Highway starting at 8 in the morning. And if you're considering getting a dog, shelter dogs will be available for adoption during the event.
Well, luckily, heading into the weekend, I think that was next weekend, though, but this weekend doesn't look too bad for us. We got a low chance to see some rain early Saturday, but most of the weekend should be dry for us. Have a look at how you can see a lunar eclipse just after the break.
It's all the
ducklings are safe after a rescue mission Monday morning by the brave men of the Woodstock Fire and Rescue Team. That is not far from Atlanta. According to a Facebook post, they found the baby ducks in a storm drain beside a road.
And in photos and videos from the scene, you can see the fireman right down there in the storm drain, handing the ducks up to his fellow firemen. We're not sure how those ducklings ended up down there in the drain in the first place, but we've all seen it. Where one goes, the rest seem to follow, and that was certainly the case in Woodstock. But you don't train for something like that, but that's a pretty cute mission right there.
I know. How cute are they?
And I'm sure that mama duck couldn't have been too far away. I saw a video recently, maybe in this one, to where the mom duck's just kind of sitting right next to him. Nearby, and as soon as they kind of pull him out, they let him go. They all just kind of go away into the bushes.
Follow mom.
They know to stay away from that storm right now. But definitely a great great act of service there from our police officers. For this Sunday.
All right, thanks for that, Riley. A former Columbia County student shares her story of sexual assault, calling for the school board to update their policy, what the district says they plan to do moving forward. When News 12 First at 5 continues.
All the tools, the latest tech.